three of these characters share one thing that puts them ahead of everybody else. They can destroy weapons.
Ladies, gentlemen, and non-binaries, welcome to the Chamber of the Wraith. My name is Barbara, and today we're going to be doing a video that has been stewing in my brain for the past month or so. Unfortunately, this is also an announcement that Niche is done. I tried to play it. I honestly should just play demos of games before I make series on them, because this is not the first time I looked at a game and went, oh, it looks cool. Too bad it does not jive with me. But what did jive with me a lot was Arkham Knight, at least from challenge gameplay perspective thingamajiggies. The story mode is not great. But besides the story mode, there were at least 10 things I would have liked to have seen improved from the Arkham Knight that we got, mostly by taking things a lot from the older Arkham games that made them really cool. So without further ado, here are the top 10 things I would have liked to have seen that would have improved Batman Arkham Knight. Improving Arkham Knight is one of those things that personally comes in multiple different flavors. Because, well, let's be honest, the story for Arkham Knight is probably the weakest in the entire series. And yes, I am comparing it to Arkham Asylum and Arkham Origins. All three of the Arkham games beforehand had a better, tighter, cleaner story, and honestly, that improving the story could be its own little video, which is why I am not going to be talking about the story mode in this video. I'm talking strictly gameplay-based changes that I would like to see improved, but some of them could have impacted the story in some way in order to make things more interesting. So, we're going to get started with number 10, because this is the least important change that I think needs to be made, but is still worth considering just because it never hurts. First up is more challenges. Now, for some reason, I was able to basically remove the tutorial challenges from this particular save, which is upsetting, because I quite like messing around with the tutorials and seeing what I can do, but the only one that's left is the weapon energy diagnostics. Moving on, we have many combat challenges. A lot of them are downloadable, some of them come with the game. You can tell if one's downloadable by the yellow arrows. But as you can see, we only got 4 combat challenges and 4 Predator challenges alongside, I believe, 4. I don't know, because I really didn't mess around with a lot of the Batmobile racing challenges. But I know there's more Batmobile challenges, and there's also, well, 4 combat challenges, and several hybrid challenges as well, that as far as I'm aware, none of these are DLC. Then there's the Scarecrow missions. There's a lot here, for sure. I mean, we've got 15 combat challenges, 15 combat challenges, what's, 15 or 25? 25 combat challenges, 23 Predator challenges, 21 driving challenges, 5 combat challenges, and 7 Batmobile hybrid challenges, and the 3 Scarecrow challenges exclusive to PlayStation. So, let's do the math real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 plus 5 is 12. 12 plus 21 is 33. 33 plus 23 is 56? Yeah, 56. 56 plus 25 is... 56 plus 25 is 76, 81 different challenges, which is quite a lot. And that's why adding more challenges is at the bottom of the list. One particular element, however, that I think should have been added into this is hybrid stealth and combat challenges, because we have hybrid Batmobile challenges, which are a hybrid of racing and combat. So why not have a hybrid combat and Predator encounter? Start off with a Predator encounter and then get into a wave of fights, just like in the original Spider-Man for PS4. I know the game came out 3 years after the fact, but I mean, it paints a good idea for a challenge. You also have various challenges that are exclusive to characters. Do more of this. Like this, like Cat's Conundrum is only for Catwoman or Batman. Maybe have one that's exclusive to Nightwing or Batgirl. More tag team challenges. The fact that you could have Robin and Batgirl team up in one of the Arkham episodes, but not in a challenge is strange to me. Plus, you could have Harley Quinn and Catwoman team up. There's a myriad of combinations that they could have done to expand the challenges. But considering how goddamn many we ended up getting in this game, this is not a particularly high priority in my list. It's just that if I needed a 10th, more challenges would never hurt. Time to move on to number 9. The next point is about the medics. Specifically, what this guy's doing right here. It's a medic charge that allows him to charge allies in order to make their attacks unblockable for one connected strike if they are baton or fist enemies. This is a great way to make medics involved in combat beyond simply reviving bad guys and hiding behind others. However, for the caveats that they made that are great, they cannot electrify shielded enemies, they cannot electrify knife enemies, they can only electrify basic enemies and baton enemies. There is one caveat that I really don't think should be allowed, and that is the fact that in most combat challenges, medics can actually charge normal thugs instead of just militia thugs, and that shouldn't be applicable. We'll get into this a little bit later in the video, but I think the militia thugs and the normal thugs should be classed differently from each other in some way, because right now, you know, there's nothing stopping this medic from charging anybody on the field that just so happens to be on their team instead of on, you know, Red Hood's team, as if Red Hood ever had a thug. So make it only able to charge specific thugs would be a great way to do that. Revive all thugs. That goes without saying, but only be able to charge militia thugs. And as a caveat to this, I actually want to buff the medics in one way too, and that's doubling their health pool, making accidental knockouts much less likely and allowing you to rack up long boy combos. And other than that, the medics are actually quite fine, which is why they're only number 9 in this position. Time to move on to number 8. Next up, this is an extension of adding more challenges into like hybrid stealth and combat. A lot of the combat challenges that were downloadable take place around Gotham City, on rooftops and places like that. It is totally possible to set up a situation where you could call in an assist that you can't in any of the combat challenges, which feels a little bit shitty. I'm talking about this right here. As long as it seems to be stuck. Oh, there it is. Yes, the Batmobile as an assist, because in Arkham Knight's story mode, you absolutely can. Oh. Hold on. I need a larger crowd of people. But the Batmobile is able to have more assists than just running over people. As you can see, you can call it to instantly knock out enemies and charge it by hitting enemies. This could give you a times 100 modifier, perhaps. I mean, the tag team takedowns cost 250. I said they cost about times 250, but it's debatable. And I'm not totally sure if this can work on brutes, but assists can. So I don't see why it can't work on with the Batmobile. And speaking of brutes, number 8 involves something that has always bothered me. Why is it that not every character can fight brutes in this game? Brutes, for the most part, replace armored enemies from Arkham City and Arkham Origins. And I mean that in the sense of these guys, these big hulking brutes right here, fill the same niche as the armored guys from the previous game. You can't hit them normally. You have to stun them into a beatdown in order to take them down. They're susceptible to instant takedowns. Various gadgets can be used to your advantage to knock them into other enemies, and so on. Brutes, however, cannot use weapons like armored guys can. And while they have equivalents in the form of being able to have shields for military brutes, which normal armored guys can't do, and bladed weapons that require 4 presses of the triangle of the counter button in order to beat if they have the arm blades, and the electric shock gauntlets, which 2 of those weapons are analogs for what armored brutes can actually use. Ow. Sorry for the fuzzy imagery here. Come on. There we go. And you can counter these attacks as well, but they don't actually hurt the brutes, just like with armored opponents. However, with these big guys here, they do have some caveats and interesting things, but they're fine. And in Arkham City and Arkham Origins, every playable character can fight armored opponents. So why is that not true in Arkham Knight? I can partially understand it with Red Hood because he has a 1-character kill button. Okay? Fine. Maybe it doesn't work on brutes or it never targets brutes. That's one way to do it. But besides Red Hood, none of the female characters can fight brutes. They are replaced instead with shield enemies. Or in Predator challenges, there are a couple of different replacements that they can be, but in combat challenges, they're always replaced with shield enemies, which is honestly unfair. I mean, why should it be? Why should the female characters, plus Red Hood, have to types in the game just because they, can't throw a punch against somebody bigger than them? These are super heroines and villainesses here. They can take on people that are bigger than themselves. And there are ways to make the fights work and be fair. Treat them like armored enemies. Catwoman can fight armored enemies in Arkham City. Why can't she fight brutes in Arkham Knight, for instance? And maybe some of the gadgets might not work properly, like caltrops or whatever. Those are things that are relatively easy to fix. And speaking of shields, time to move on to our next point, which actually, I should probably just go back in here. Shield guys. These guys are the bane of my existence in this game, and a lot of people find shield enemies quite frustrating. Now, this is partially because they can ruin combos pretty easily, and they're quite difficult to take care of, but they do have pretty easy counters. Enemies that can, or characters that can destroy weapons like Batgirl here, can easily take care of them. They can't stop caltrops, and gunshots from Red Hood can stagger them and give Red Hood points, as well as obviously using aerial attacks or thrown weapons like the propane tank back there in order to knock the weapon out of their hands. However, shields are undoubtedly the strongest weapons in this game. You cannot counter them. You cannot evade over them. They get picked up really fast. Fast enough, in fact, that as soon as an enemy hovers over the shield, don't go for them. Otherwise, you'll ruin your combo. These things are really strong. I would argue too strong. And I would nerf them in a couple of ways. One, make their attack speed slightly slower. That's a good speed for a high energy, or for a high level shield enemy. But high-level shield enemies attack twice as fast as this, and you can't counter that, which means that you're taking damage out of the blue, sometimes from ranges you didn't think were possible, ruining your combo. And that's not fun. Keep it at this speed for high-level shield enemies, and we're good to go. That kind of slowing down makes them being unblockable and unable to be and immune to various forms of attack fair, because these guys will also block low attacks like whip trips and slides, and you can't evade behind them to attack, unlike stun baton enemies, which are also unblockable and are a lot slower. And another thing I would recommend is having some kind of durability scale for shields, because they are made from car doors most of the time, so eventually they have to be broken. And I don't think the enemies themselves should be able to break these shields. That's too much. But explosive gadgets like explosive gel, explosive batarangs, and Red Hood's gunshots should be able to wear down the shield after 3 to 5 applications until the shields themselves are destroyed. Now, this means that certain characters like Catwoman might not be able to destroy shields at all, but it gives more characters options to destroy shields. And in fact, one thing you could also do is allow the Batclaw to disarm shields and the Zip Kick to destroy shields. Catwoman can get around shields pretty well with her Caltrops, so it's fine enough. And with these two changes, shields are still quite strong without being super busted. The other thing that I would like to change is I would like to see I mentioned this before, but we'll talk about it a little more specifically here. I would like to see a distinct difference between militia thugs and normal thugs when it comes to all challenges. They do pop up interchangeably in towers, so I'll show you what I mean shortly. Normal thugs are normal thugs. They're just criminals. They're just normal people. Sure, they've been around with... Sure, to be fair, they can intermingle, and they have known these vigilantes for a while. But they're not skilled and trained in unarmed and armed combat like these militia guys are supposed to be. Now, short of the fancy duds and the fact that they talk smack to you, these guys are nothing special, really. They talk a big game, and in the game, the Arkham Knights spent $3 billion building this army, and yet these guys are absolute chumps. For the most part. And, like, there's nothing really different about them. They don't attack, they don't have, like, more than 3 attacks at once, they don't attack particularly hard, they don't try for, like, fake-out attacks or anything like that. There needs to be more here. There needs to be more variety in what the militia thugs can do versus what normal thugs can do. Normal thugs are fine as is, but fake out attacks would be a great way to do this. Multi-attacks that if you miss one, you'll take damage, but you could potentially counter the second one in order to combo back. We'll talk a little more about that later. And maybe even some advanced tech of their own. Maybe they're immune to throw counters, for instance, or they can attack in groups of up to 5, or they will try to disarm you of your gadgets, temporarily disabling them if you use them too much. So if you keep using the remote electric charge, some thugs will try to move in and remove the remote electric charge. Just these little things that show that these guys are a cut above your average thug, that they know you, that they can adapt to what you do, that they are well trained, that they aren't any... that they are, more than nothing special. Or, at the very least, just give them different animations that show better technique in combat and make them faster. the Tiger Guards in Arkham City showed this really well, where their basic punching strikes are one thing, where they weren't really all that different, but they sold their differences in that they never talked smack. It was all professional. The way they punch, they have their arms up to defend their other side as they go for a punch. That's proper punching discipline, as opposed to normal thugs that keep their arms down. And, you know, maybe certain counter animations don't actually work and you need different counter animations. These sorts of things make the militia thugs better and make them stronger too. Make them harder to make them more resolved for combat. Right now, all the militia thugs do that is different from any other thugs in the game is that they'll roll when picking up certain weapons and they will back up when they are knocked down. Hell, make sure that they get up quicker. These guys are well trained. Hell, one of them claims to know Krav Maga, which is an advanced martial art. Have these guys be scary. If you see militia goons, you better be prepared. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. Let's move on to number 5. This one is strictly cosmetic, but it really is telling that this is ahead of the other 4 complaints that I've had so far. That is more skins. Not for you, Batman. You have enough already. I'm talking overall. Now, the Batmobile skins, they're fine as they are, and the different models are really, really cool. But the fact that the Joker mobile is unavailable, you could just look at it and not use it, is a little bit dumb. I think you should be able to use the Joker mobile in Arkham Knight. This unavailable thing is stupid. As for character skins, again, Batman does not need any. He has 5, 10, 15, 23 different skins. He's fine. Robin actually has a really good amount of skins. He has 5 different skins. A couple more here or there wouldn't hurt, but Robin is maybe second place, but I'm not terribly worried about him. It's the other characters that I'm worried about. I mean, Catwoman had 3 skins in Arkham City, sure, but some of those skins could have been brought back quite reasonably. And I'm talking like the animated series, Long Halloween. This is 1990s era. Different classic TV series Catwoman skins. You have classic Catwoman. I mean, we have first appearance Tim Drake. Yeah, we have original Tim Drake, so why not have original Catwoman from 1940 as an example? Or Injustice Catwoman. Maybe not Injustice 2 Catwoman, because this would have been beforehand, but still. Nightwing is another character that deserves more skins. We have the Arkham Knight Nightwing, New 52 Nightwing, and Arkham City Nightwing. Alright, fine. Where is Disco Wing? I'm being serious here. Where's Disco Wing? Where's Disco Wing? Where's the mullet Nightwing from the animated series? Because, yeah, the animated series skins would have been a great pack to have for all of the characters here. Because outside of Azrael and Red Hood, all of those characters, all of the playable characters show up in the animated series, so animated series skins would be great. It does give a skin to Batman, but that's a small price to pay for giving one extra skin to pretty much every playable character in the game. And, of course, you have the mullet Nightwing. There are options here that you could have that are not here. Hell, Injustice 1 Nightwing could be an option. Damian Wayne Nightwing could be an option. Harley Quinn. How has this woman not gotten more skins? You have the Arkham Knight Harley, which is alright. And then you have the classic Harley that came about, I believe, with the Batgirl DLC. That or it was a contest with Red Hood. I don't quite remember the deal. But the classic Harley skin became playable. Awesome! Where is New 52 Harley, for instance? Where is Injustice 1 Harley? I hate coming back to Injustice, but it proves a point, because they've done Injustice skins before. Where is... I don't know, where's the Batman, the 2004 Batman Harley Quinn? Where's the Suicide Squad Harley Quinn. I mean, we have Batman versus Superman, and we have the 2016 stuff, and I'm pretty sure Suicide Squad was being advertised around this time. How come we didn't get a Suicide Squad skin for Harley Quinn? Even if I personally do not like that design at all, you know, more skins is hard to pass up, especially for those people who do like Suicide Squad 2016 Harley Quinn. Or any number of skins for Harley. Red Hood is another character that could have benefited from more skins. He did get an Arkham Knight skin, which is great. But where's Under the Red Hood? Like, where's classic Red Hood? You got Under the Red Hood, and you have various other, and then you have New 52 Red Hood, Outlaws Red Hood. You've got options. Every character having at least 5 skins is reasonable to me. And in fact, for Catwoman, I could talk about what we can do for Catwoman to get to that, for all these characters to get that point. We have animated series and classic Catwoman. Done. We have Disco Wing and we have animated series Nightwing. Done. We have New 52 Harley, Injustice Harley, and Suicide Squad 2016 Harley. Done. We have Under the Red Hood, Jason Todd. We have Unmasked Jason Todd. We have we have Outlaws Jason Todd. And then we have Azrael, who only has 1 skin. And like Batgirl, they did not give this poor guy any skins at all, which is criminal because there's a bunch of skins you could do. You could give him Nightfall Batman. You could give him the costume that Jean-Paul Valley wore. You could give him New 52 Azrael. There are options here for Azrael. You could even give him another original design, like the Renegade of the Order of Saint Dumas. There are options here. Arkham City Azrael is another option. But we didn't get that. We also didn't get him using this really cool sword, which is a bit of a shame. Or the Sword of Soros. And she's not available in the character viewer, but just for the sake of it, Barbara Gordon, Batgirl. I know it's Oracle's superior. Trust me, I know this. But Batgirl is not even viewable inside of the character models here. She is the only character model in the game that I'm immediately aware of that is not viewable to some degree anywhere. Even the exclusive Joker thugs, well, they're thugs. If you go down to criminals, yeah, you have thugs, you've got criminals, you've got options that get kind of close. Right? But you don't see Batgirl anywhere, which is actually quite telling. So, what do you give Batgirl for her costumes? Well, first off, how is it that she did not get a classic TV series skin? The literal reason why Barbara is Batgirl to this day, much to the chagrin of Oracle and DC and other Batgirl fans around the world, is because of this TV series and Yvonne Craig's Batgirl. At least wear it on your goddamn sleeves, DC Comics, and give this woman her 1966 costume. And then you could do Batgirl Year One, animated series Batgirl. You could do you could do classic comic Batgirl. You could, and I mean, this costume is basically New 52 Batgirl, so we don't need to do New 52 Batgirl, but maybe go nuts with another design. Robot Batgirl or something. There are options here for every character, and the fact that some characters didn't get any alternate costumes at all, and some characters only got one, is criminal. Especially when you consider that, if we look at Batman, and yes, I understand it's technically his game, so him getting more costumes makes sense. Batman has almost 24 costumes, while second place has 5. It's a little bit absurd, if you ask me, but it is what it is. but I would really have liked to have seen more skins, especially ones that you could have unlocked instead of just having to buy them. But whatever. Moving on to our number 4. More enemy types. And I mean across the board. Playing Arkham City and Arkham Origins recently, just for funsies, made me realize Arkham Knight is relatively bare when it comes to enemy types. I mean, let's think about the enemy types that we have. We have unarmed. We have unarmed. We have unarmed guys. We have baton users or bat users. We have baton users. We have box throwers. We've got knife users. We've got shield users, brutes, and medics. Oh, and gun users. This is in combat challenges. That's 9 different types. But most of those are interchangeable because they're just people picking up things. They're not intrinsic properties of certain characters. Boil that all down, you've got normal thugs, medics, and brutes. And that's it. They can interchange and use different things, sure, and even the medics could be considered a subclass of normal thug. But that's still only 3 main types when Arkham City had 4, and Arkham Origins had over half a dozen. Arkham City had normal thugs, lieutenants. He had lieutenants. Normal guys, lieutenants, Titan henchmen, and armored thugs. That's 4 different types of enemies to deal with before considering weapons that are interchangeable. And honestly, the amount of weapons are fine, because in Arkham City, there aren't different amounts of weapons, really. There's still the bats. There's still the bats and the guns and all of that stuff. But then in Arkham Origins, we had even more. And we had exclusive enemy... We had 3 exclusive enemy types that haven't been seen in any other Arkham game. I'm talking about martial artists, venom users, and cryogun users. Now, martial artists, I am shocked. So that makes it 3 types of enemies for Arkham Knight, and 5 different types for Arkham City because of the swordsmen. I forgot about them. But that's still... you still had the swords guys in some occasions in Arkham Origins, and then you had martial artists, which were unarmed opponents that didn't pick up weapons, but had special skills in combat that made them separate from others. They had attacks you had to press multiple times in order to counter, like double attacks that you had to press twice, counter twice in order to make work. You had counters that did not lead into normal counterattacks, but were more parries. And you had to parry up to 6 times in order to finally land a counterattack on some martial artists. This would have been perfect to see in Arkham Knight, and would have been really cool to see if most, if not all, of the normal militia thugs were actually martial artists that also use the other types of weapons and could use them in multi-counter states. Then you have venom users, which, I mean, Bane isn't in the game and nor is his gang, but as we have seen, legacy things tend to move around once people figure out how it works. And who's to say that Penguin couldn't have gotten his hold on a supply of venom to juice up his thugs, for instance, in order to make them jacked up venom thugs that acted like armored enemies that you had to beat down and disable the venom in order to make them, fightable like normal thugs. They had stages. And the cryogun users were armored gun users that could have frozen you or other enemies into place depending on how things go. They are large, they are armored, so you have to beat them down, and they are tough. Plus, Mr. Freeze shows up in this game, so stolen freeze tech would have made sense. Red Hood actually has an exclusive enemy archetype in Arkham Knight for Predator challenges, and we will get to those now. See that fellow on the left, with the fancy armor? He's bulletproof. Now, bulletproof enemies would be wonderful for Red Hood, at the very least from a challenge perspective. Here's why.
That's a lot of muscle for one ship.
They're bulletproof. You can't shoot them. Which, considering that Red Hood is capable of soloing entire challenges with just his guns, is absolute madness. And adding the bulletproof enemies would actually add a challenge to some of these, well, challenges, and make Red Hood players have to think. It's one of those things that should have happened. Make it a Red Hood exclusive. Just have him be the only one who has to deal with bulletproof enemies, because he's the only one who shoots people. Hell, you can even have bulletproof medics. That would be really cool. And finally, one thing I never understood in terms of why they didn't come back is in Predator challenges. More specifically, thermal vision enemies. Why didn't these guys come back? I mean, these guys are supposed to be well-trained and well-equipped and have the best equipment. And I understand the heartbeat monitors may have outlived their usefulness or what, or maybe they're there so that sonic batarangs don't work. That would make sense. But, I mean, what's stopping these guys here from wearing thermal vision goggles to check vantage points and through smoke in order to track down any grapnel-using vigilantes? That would make sense, at least for me. I would absolutely have welcomed the thermal goggle enemies back because, you know, you have options now. Plus, it would allow for more variety and thinking more on your feet. You know, and more dialogue options. Remember to use your thermal goggles, and you can even disable them with the disruptor, theoretically. Be like, no, the goggles aren't working, leaving them distracted for a knockout. That sort of thing. Time to move on to the third point, and this one really bothers me. Well, that was a rather unfortunately timed crash. Number 3. Why is there, like, no smack talk in the challenges? And, okay, there's not literally none, but Harley is the only one who regularly talks smack during Predator and combat challenges. Batgirl is the only other character that talks at all during challenges, and it's during the last Predator takedown being a silent takedown? And then nobody else talks? Nobody else is, you know, being smarmy and snarky? Hell, Batman talks more in Arkham City than some of these characters do in Arkham Knight. It is ridiculous. And yes, Batman does talk smack in Arkham City. At the start of every round, he'll lay down a comment, "Isn't this a school night?" And Catwoman will too, but Robin and Nightwing don't. They're mute. Which makes sense at the time, they're DLC characters, and while Robin does have like 4 lines of dialogue in Arkham City, Nightwing doesn't, whatever. It's still a crime. But not as much of a crime as in Arkham Knight, where all of these characters talk, and outside of occasional pieces of comments in combat challenges and every silent takedown in Predator, during combat sequences and doing silent takedowns in the Predator section for his challenge, none of these characters talk. None of these characters talk smack. None of these characters think to themselves. None of that. And they absolutely should. Hell, the fact that Nightwing doesn't talk smack to people as he's fighting at all? Who thought that was a good idea? Nightwing is the smack talker of the Bat family. It's not even a contest. So, what gives? I don't know. A lot of these characters need to talk. Nightwing needs to talk smack. Red Hood needs to talk smack in all the Predator challenges. Catwoman needs to talk smack. Batman and Azrael don't have to. Batgirl can talk some smack in the combat challenges, and I actually don't mind that she only talks occasional smack during double takedowns and during silent takedowns. That's fine. But most of these characters should talk smack, and the fact that most of them don't is ridiculous. Plus, can we have, beyond just simulation activated, like, character-specific, challenge-starting pieces of comments like simulation activated as you're cycling through, and then Batman's like, this is gonna be easy, or something like that. It's short, it's sweet, it's absolutely ridiculous. I'm still personally upset that this isn't a thing. Let's move on to the silver medal winner, and this one is probably a lot of people's #1 most requested feature, and it was for me for a while until #1 took over. But here's a very important one. Arkham Knight is the most gorgeous Arkham game of all time. In fact, I would argue its graphical fidelity and detail is so great, it even puts well-made games 3 years after it came out to shame. Look at this place. Look at the detail, look at the lighting, look at everything. Don't you just want to explore this with your favorite character? No such luck. You can only play as Batman in the free roam, which is, to me, absolutely fucking absurd. Free roam was in Arkham City almost 4 years ago. Now, granted, it was only with Catwoman, and they didn't add that functionality for Robin and Nightwing. But this game, they should have absolutely allowed you to come back in and, you know, visit this story with anybody. One of the options I would like to see is actually inside of the GCPD. And yeah, I know you're gonna be harping on me for this one, I can tell, but I do not care. We come in here, we're gonna come talk to her, all right? Plus, imagine all the smack talk you could have as various characters talking to these people. But honestly, the fact that you can't free roam as, at the very least, Robin, Nightwing, and Catwoman in this game, much less everybody else, is borderline criminal. Even Azrael's not allowed to free roam, and he's basically Christian Batman. By the way, I would love to be able to free roam and kick people's asses as this lady, but, you know, they won't allow that.
Thanks again, Bruce. For going after Tim and that.
Bothers me. But think about all that you can do in Arkham Knight once you're done. I mean, even if you can't drive the Batmobile, you know, honestly, who gives a crap about that? But just think about what you could do when you could play as Robin or Azrael or Catwoman, and you get to explore the most expansive, detailed, and frankly beautiful Gotham City has ever been in video game form. And the fact that that is not in this game really turned off a lot of people, and in fact is the biggest complaint that I've seen across Arkham Knight in general is, well, why couldn't we free roam as whoever we wanted? Just set up certain points and switch characters. Why couldn't we have done that? It would infinitely add to the replay value, because now you're running around as anybody you want, beating up thugs. And hell, even if you're just screwing around as Batman for a little while and want to change pace, you can do that. And I think the biggest tease of all is that one character did get a special little free roam section of her own Arkham episode. Yeah, I am indeed talking about Batgirl. While the area that you get to explore is much more limited, this is still the largest expansion that Arkham Knight has gotten in terms of overall content. A whole new map, a brand new playable character, literally just free roam forever, effectively, in a secondary free roam mode. This is massive! And they gave it to Flashback Batgirl of all characters, which, okay, that's fine. But unfortunately, it itself has caveats. Again, the range is limited. And... oh, right, this is not a thing anymore. And as you grab collectibles and knock out people, you lose the ability to fight them again. There are 3 or 4 groups that I can't fight here unless I fully reset the campaign because of this bizarre fact. Which is a very weird oversight to have. But free play aside and all of this, it's very important, yes. But there is one single thing that bothers me even more than this. Something that completely irks me to no end, and is one of the main reasons why which is one of several reasons why I dread ever having the possibility of playing through the story mode of Arkham Knight again. Playing through it twice was more than enough for me. And that, my friends, this fucking thing. Okay, it was great to see that we could finally use the Batmobile. And this was obviously one of Arkham Knight's biggest selling points. You get to use probably the most ridiculously tricked out Batmobile in the entire Batman canon as far as I'm aware. I mean, a grappling hook, rocket launchers, EMP, a drone virus, rockets, the ability to turn into a literal tank. This thing is ridiculous. But what is ridiculous in a bad way is the handling. Oh my god. Okay. I really want to know who on earth looked at the Batmobile and decided, you know, this probably multi-ton vehicle that is, you know, super military in terms of design and functionality? Let's make it handle like a Honda Civic hydroplaning. It's ridiculous. Oh, that's right. I came into the GCPD, so. I mean, that aside, let's head outside and take a look at this thing turning, right? At speed, it doesn't seem so bad. But considering that, like, it's super bumpy. Like, it should only turn this hard if I'm braking for a start. It doesn't feel very intuitive. Stopping on a diamond tank mode is great, but you can't really do that for a lot of the racing challenges because you'll lose time and stars. Drifting builds up time, but again, when we're driving at full speed and decide to take a turn, you either turn too much or don't turn enough, and that can cause major problems. And of course, there's the friggin' afterburner. This thing is great for rocketing along, except you come off of it a little bit too slow and it causes problems with hilly terrain. This thing does not handle well. So I've got to wonder, why are there so many challenges for this thing? Like, DLC races aside, there are tons of challenges that feature the Batmobile. And yet, the damn thing handles terribly. I personally think that Arkham Knight should have been delayed by another year, at least to get proper development in to make sure all the Season of Infamy stuff was in the game, but also to make sure the Batmobile actually handles properly. Like, one of the easiest races out there, I can't touch 2 stars on, or 3 stars on, because of how the drifting works and the speed boost. It is unintuitive and just sloppy to drive. The thing works way better in combat than when it comes to driving, and that is a problem when it is the Batmobile. It is a vehicle that it was primarily designed for being driven around, and apparently the Arkham Batmobile somehow handles even worse. It's absolutely nutters to me. Ugh. This genuinely upsets me a lot. But yeah, those are my top 10 changes I would have liked to have seen in Arkham Knight. Which changes would you have liked to have seen? Let me know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell, all that YouTubey bullshit. And as always, don't forget to be awesome. Oh, and remember to sing your praises to Oracle tonight. She could really fucking use them right about now.
Don't give a damn. This is our time to go from zero to hero.